Check one, two. Check one, two.
All right, good evening, everyone. The first item on the agenda this evening is a presentation by the Montgomery County Planning Commission in regard to bike lanes on Burnside Avenue. If you could come up, please.
We are part of, the microphone went on. We are part of the transportation section at the Planning Commission. We deal with roads and transit and bridges and pedestrians and biking and all sorts of things. And so we've been working with PennDOT over the last number of months to look at the possibility of adding on-road bicycle facilities to various roads around the county that PennDOT is going to be repaving. They had a long list. We narrowed it down, and one of those segments was on Burnside. And so we have an opportunity that we wanted to bring to you guys tonight for your consideration as a way to maybe get on-road bicycle facilities as part of PennDOT's repaving. But there's some things that we want to break down for you, some things that you would have to consider. There's some trade-offs, and so that's what we want to run through with you here very briefly tonight. So I'm going to let Andrew give an overview of what that is, and I'm going to hand out some things that are probably going to be up on your screen, but we want to make sure that you have copies in front of you as well. Okay? So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Andrew.
Hello, as Matt said, my name's Andrew Turner. I'm a transportation planner at Montgomery County Planning Commission. So the PennDOT resurfacing project is a coordinated effort between Montgomery County, DVRPC and PennDOT to identify state roads that would be suitable for adding bicycle infrastructure to during PennDOT's regular scheduled paving efforts. The project is based on the existing cartway, so there's no construction involved. The first step in the process basically was the county reviewing the scheduling efforts for 2023. We made recommendations. Those recommendations then filtered through the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission and into PennDOT. As Matt said, Burnside Avenue was identified, State Road 3004. And it's been identified as a feasible location for shadows and bike lanes. The determination of having a bike lane, having a shadow, is to do with the speed limit, the average daily traffic count, and the roadway width. Shadows are a combination of the words share and arrow, and these are road markings that inform drivers that they're on the road and share the right-of-way with the bicyclists. There is a photograph on the memo. On the left-hand side of the shadow is the shadow, and then on the right-hand side is the bike lane, and the bike lane is a separated section striped off the road, also with some signs. So bike lanes have been deemed feasible by PennDOT on the section of Burnside Avenue from Main Street to Marshall Street. This is approximately 1,000 feet. The road width there appears to be about 30 feet, so they've deemed it wide enough. Although they do need to verify the actual width. Shadows have been deemed feasible on the rest of Burnside Avenue from Marshall Street to the township line, and this is a total of 6,600 linear feet. The reason, or from Marshall to Chestnut Street, has been deemed too narrow for bike lanes, so that's why they have shadows. From Chestnut to just beyond Davis Drive, it's obviously wider, but they've recognised that there's parking on that portion of the road, so the bike lanes wouldn't be feasible, so again, shadows. And then from Davis Drive to Township Line, the roadway is too narrow, so again, they've advised shadows. It should be noted that as Burnside continues onto Potshot Road in East Norriton, that's not actually on the 2023 schedule. And then as it continues, the State Road continues onto Potshot and Berks Road in Worcester. That is a continuation of this project, and we're going to be speaking to Worcester as well. So we're now in the second stage of the process. We spoke with Jason and Mike on October 18th. We followed up with a memo that you have here, and now we're here to answer any questions that you have. Basically, PennDOT is going to pay for the initial installation of the shadows and the bike lanes, but the township needs to write a bike lane request letter to PennDOT to acknowledge that they will be responsible for maintaining the signage, the markings, until the next repaving schedule. This letter will provide a guarantee to PennDOT that the township is willing to maintain the paint, and then they will invest the money in doing the engineering plans. Once the engineering plans are done, there is a little bit of leeway with the township and PennDOT, but the expectation is once that letter has been submitted that we would move forward with PennDOT's plans. I guess if you have any questions.
The sharrows, my understanding was if you're on a road, say without a sharrow or a bike lane, that you're supposed to share the road with bikes. I'm not quite clear on the difference of having the sharrows and not. Is there a difference in speed limit or?
There's no difference in speed limit. It's just signings, markings on the road that highlight to the driver that it is a recognised bicycle route, and that they should be more aware of cyclists. It's just creating more visibility for cyclists using that road.
Where does the bike lane come from? I mean, is there a bike lane on Main Street, and is there a bike lane on County Line?
Marshall, you mean?
No, County Line.
You mean Township line?
Township Line, excuse me.
I believe there is not bike lanes to bike lanes. It would start on Main Street at Burnside and then end at Marshall. You know, the county, we do have a bike Monco plan, and it is part of the bike Monco plan, or there's a section of it that's on the bike Monco plan. So it's kind of, the bike facilities throughout the county are kind of piecemeal. So this would be a section in the larger plan.
Yeah. Can I jump in real quick, Andrew? Is that all right?
Sure.
Just for a second? So Judith, your question really is like, where's the rest of the network, right? If
Yes.
the commissioners approve bike lanes on the piece from Maine to Marshall, like where else does it go? And the way we see it, it's, as Andrew was saying, it's part of a bigger network. We have a bicycle plan, which is, we have it since 2018. It's a big reason why we've been working with PennDOT on this opportunity the last several years, is to try to see what we can implement from that plan. And so that plan calls for, in theory, part of the planned bicycle network, that Marshall Street would be a route, then it would turn up on Burnside to Chestnut and then go down Chestnut. Marshall is kind of wide, Chestnut's kind of wide, the piece in between, which is on Burnside, not really kind of wide. So we see this, even if all we get out of this that you guys agree to as commissioners is a bike lane from Maine to Marshall, and that's it. It's part of a larger network that maybe over time we can work with you guys to find ways to implement, to find money to implement. And so, maybe 5 years from now, you might have more of that network in there and it connects to something. Yeah.
So I have a couple of questions with respect to speed limit and similar presentations in other municipalities, for example, like the picture on the left there where there's not a true bike lane. Do you know the speed limit on Burnside is it 25 now, I believe? I think it's 35.
Which was reduced a couple years ago from 45.
Would adding the sharrows further reduce the speed limit?
No, I don't believe it would, no.
Okay. And in similar size roads, obviously there's not a one-size-fits-all situation. Are you aware of any feedback, positive or negative, from either the motorists or the cyclists about safety, ability to travel the roads, et cetera? I mean, I realize that's a very broad question, but I just figured in your experience you might have run across that more than once.
In the bike Monco plan, there is, I guess, a hierarchy of safety. There's buffered bike lanes, and then there's bike lanes that actually have a physical barrier. They're the safest. And then a marked bike lane is kind of the next safest, and then the sharrow is safer than not having a sharrow.
Yeah. And Martin, let me just jump in and try to answer your question, your last part of the question directly, right? So what feedback have we gotten is what you asked. I'd say that we see it in two ways. Number one, we probably haven't got anything from any angry motorists saying, why'd you put a bike lane on here, or why are there sharrows? So we haven't really heard any complaints. We have had bicyclists contact us over time, here and there, saying, hey, I saw that you guys put this thing out on Morris Road, that's great. Morris Road was a big one that we were able to do through this program. And I think one of the pictures up on the screen at one point was from Morris Road. There's sharrows in Bridgeport. There's sharrows on Johnson Highway between East Norriton and Norristown. And we haven't really heard anything negative. It doesn't really take lanes away for the most part to do these things, especially on Burnside. It's just an addition. But what it does is it creates places that are safe, creates places that motorists can see. And we'll be frank with you guys, right? As Andrew was saying, a bike lane is probably the best thing you could do that's on street, because it makes it a lane, it makes it a place where bicyclists are separated from traffic. But where you can't do that, where the road is narrow, we feel that sharrows still have value, because it still gets the word out, as Andrew was saying, that if you're a motorist, you see these things, you pay attention to it. It's different, we're not used to it, and it says what is the law that we just don't see. It's invisible. We don't think about the fact that if I get in my car and I drive out here on Marshall, that I'm supposed to share the road with bikes, right? But when you put the sharrow down, it says something. It communicates something to drivers, to the public. It says something about your township. It says something about what you value. And so we still think there is value to it, but obviously the choice before you as commissioners tonight would be, any or all of these possibilities, do you want to move forward with them?
I guess just one final question, thought, comment. What's the timeline that PennDOT would be looking to repave and/or line these roads?
Sure, it would be sometime next year. PennDOT's work on this issue is usually about a year out, so they've been doing repaving from this summer through this fall for the list and the group that we worked with last year. So it takes them some time. If you guys were to send a letter saying we want the bike lanes Main to Marshall, or we want the sharrows from Marshall up to, say, the high school, or we want both, right? They would take that letter, they'd start the design over the winter, and then at some point, their contractor would have a bid package in their hands come spring, and they'd start paving roads. And they'll have a list of about 25 road segments all around the county. They might get to you guys first, they might get to you guys last. You just don't really know, but it will likely be sometime next year.
I'm just curious, generally, how often do the markings need to be repainted?
That kind of depends on how much traffic there is. Obviously, the bike lanes, because they're separate, the cars are not meant to be driving on them, so they last longer. With regards to the sharrows, it really depends on, well, the type of paint that you put down originally, and then also kind of just the wear and tear, how many cars go over it.
Well, you know what kind of paint there will be done originally, right?
Yep. It should be the standard PennDOT, yeah, they'll be put down, the thermoplastic.
Which, if you've driven through Marshall and Burnside, that's what it would be, the thicker white paint. So that normally tends to last longer than these. But from a budgetary perspective, our liquid fuels dollars would pay for this, so it wouldn't have to come out of the general fund.
What about, what's the spacing of the icons on the street? And is there accompanying signage that would go on the side of the road that says, share the road or whatever they are?
Yes, there should be, that would be finalised in the engineering drawings. So usually at junctions, there's usually a marking, and then it kind of depends how many there are in between will be kind of determined with the engineering and the signage as well.
Andrew, can I jump in just real quick?
Yep.
Yeah, Peter, do you want a number generally, the spacing?
No, I was just curious.
Okay.
I'm just curious. I live on Burnside, so there are a number of bikers that do use that. More sort of the higher end bikers with the gear and all.
Yeah.
But it also people drive quite fast.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm in agreement. I think we should do this, but I'm just saying people do drive fast along there, and that's why I'm concerned about the signage, markings on the road.
Yeah, it's been our experience, Andrew and I, that PennDOT will space the markings about every 250 feet. So, when you do 35, it doesn't take long to get another 250 feet. But then they'd probably also put some signage. And as Andrew said, they'd work the details out during the design, so you guys would be able to see what they're designing and see how it all fits together. But that's been our experience. They do that as a full-on package. And yeah, it's funny. I don't live too far, and I drove Burnside to get home today up into East Norriton. And I passed a bicyclist, and he was a regular-looking person, right? He wasn't the usual, decked-out gear, expensive bike. He was a regular person. And yeah, he was bicycling. I caught up to him just above Chestnut, I think. So, that's how we view it, as people are out there. And so this is an opportunity for safety to reinforce what people are already doing, as opposed to maybe inducing people to start using something or changing how they get around.
And are these on both sides,
Yeah.
east and westbound?
Yes, yeah.
So the signage is interesting because I was wondering that same thing. It's like, are people going to automatically know what that means, the Sharrow? So if there's a sign there that says share the road with a bike,
Yeah, right. That reinforces it, right? And it helps to educate. And that's part of what we're doing here. Until every township and borough has a lot of bike lanes and sharrows, it's still a novel thing. So we see this really as the early years. We used to have, I think, 17 miles of bike lanes in the county. And then over the course of the last couple of years, I think we've doubled that. That's not a lot. We have hundreds of miles of lanes on roads and streets all throughout Montgomery County. So it's not a lot, but every time we are able to get this on there, it's another normalization of these types of markings and the fact that people are bicycling around on our roads.
All right, anybody else? Well, thank you very much for the presentation.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much, guys. Thanks.
Have a great evening.
All right, next up is the approval of minutes. Did anyone have any issues with the October 4 work session or the October 11 Board of Commissioners meeting?
None, I'll make a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, Ms. Warren.
Good evening. Consider approval of the general fund and golf club payroll checks in the amount of $26,505.31 and payroll vouchers in the amount of $319,806.07. Also for your consider approval of the payment approval report in the amount of $530,463.64.
Can I get a motion to approve the report?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Mr. Bopst.
Okay, under Administration and Finance, before I get to the agenda items, one item I wanted to bring to the board's attention. On November 3rd, West Norriton hosted the Montgomery County Consortium of Communities monthly meeting of the managers of Montgomery County. And one of the topics of conversation was the growing issue with homelessness in Montgomery County. Many of our municipalities are experiencing an increase, whether it's just becoming more visible or it's just an issue that's been that has come up over the last couple of months. So one thing we have done and what we're going to be doing over the next year is we're creating a subgroup of the consortium of managers from across the county to potentially work and approach Montgomery County of how to handle this issue. Montgomery County will be appointing or has appointed a new director of Health and Human Services where the homeless portion of the county services fall under that. The one thing we did find out through this process is that Montgomery County does not provide a lot of services in regards to this issue. They do more counting and monitoring, and they contract out a lot of their work to nonprofits, which is where we're seeing a lot of that gap. The one thing from a manager's perspective is what we're trying to do over the next couple of months is educate ourselves on what our roles can be as municipalities in this process. Because in talking with managers, we're seeing issues in Upper Gwinnett that, of homelessness. No one thinks of homelessness issues in Upper Gwinnett because of, their financial conditions and their, their income levels there. Pottstown's facing huge issues, Norristown, Amblers, everywhere across this county. So it's not specific to one area. And the one myth that we've been talking about is, everyone thinks that the closing of the chalk at Norristown State Hospital is what's driving this issue. Closing a 50-bed facility when there's 1,000, 2,000 person issue in the county, I don't think really, drove this issue, but I think it shined a light on the issue more than anything else. Pottstown recently just approved zoning changes for the construction of a homeless shelter in their borough. But if you're looking at the numbers in Pottstown, they have about a 600-person encampment along Keystone Boulevard that a homeless shelter is not going to help address that issue. The Your Way Home program in the county has about a 2-year waiting list. So there's a lot of backlog and things that from a municipality perspective that we're going to try to, be partners with the county on. So we're hoping by March to have the county commissioners out to one of our next consortium meetings to answer questions, pretty much, and find out what this issue is going to be. Because if anyone drives along the bike path in Norristown, there's encampments that are popping up there, and it seems to be the county's solution is to just give them a tent without providing, the necessary services and the follow-ups that are needed there. So as the 65 managers of Montgomery County, we're going to try to take this issue, and see what we can do with it to at least help. There'll probably come a time where we might ask for a council representative from each municipality to join with one of the managers, but we're kind of working that through the subgroup right now, so I'll probably be back with more information on that. But I at least wanted to report to you guys that, at least the managers are trying to now step up and see what we can do from this perspective in the meantime. So I just wanted to provide you at least an update of what our conversation was in November.
Yeah, as I understand it, there was part of the problem that caused this was not just the closing of the homeless shelter, but the Hurricane Ida. It forced a lot of people out of their homes. So it's kind of a bunch of events came together to
It was
make
kind of a
the
perfect story
problem
because
worse.
if you
Yeah.
talk to Crandall from Norristown, they've kind of done their own reporting, their own counting, and they have people that are homeless there from Ohio and New York that were told to come to this area because of the services that they thought were here. And now they get here and there's no services.
From the Norristown particularly?
Yes. So we're, trying to come up with a plan of attack. But again, this next month or two, we're just trying to educate ourselves on what is available, what's not available, what we can do as a working group with managers, and potentially come up with a solution. So, moving on to the agenda items, under new business, there will be a motion to adopt ordinance number 2022-756, updating the stormwater management ordinance. Again, this ordinance has been duly advertised and is up for your adoption tonight. Item B would be a motion to adopt ordinance number 2022-757, regulating the distribution and use of single-use bags. Again, this ordinance was duly advertised and is up for your consideration tonight. Item C would be a motion to authorize staff to advertise ordinance number 2022-758, amending the deferred retirement option plan eligibility. This is a housekeeping item that coincides with the approval of the most recent AFSCME collective bargaining contract, extending the drop from 4 years to 5 years. Item D would be a motion to authorize staff to advertise ordinance number 2022-759, amending Chapter 7, Part 3, to provide for biannual safety inspections. Again, this is an item that is already in our ordinances covering the fees and the need for inspections, but it's changing it to a biannual inspection. If Mr. Booz wants to add anything, he can do that under his report. Item E would be a motion to authorize staff to advertise ordinance number 2022-760, approving the addition of fees and costs to unpaid municipal claims for delinquent accounts. Again, this is an item that came from Portnoy Associates, which is our fee collector for delinquent fees for the township, mostly our sewer fees. This is just codifying the existing fees in pursuant with the recently changed state laws for that. So again, no fees are changing, no process is changing. We're just codifying what those amounts would be. Item F would be a motion to authorize execution of the DUI grant resolution. Again, this is a yearly item. This resolution, it just authorizes the board, allows the board to authorize me to submit and sign the grant documents when they become available. Again, this is a yearly grant that we do. We're the clearinghouse for 20 municipalities and the DUI enforcement grants in Montgomery County. So we serve as the pass-through and the auditors for that grant. And then item G would be a motion to authorize staff to advertise the proposed 2023 budgets. And as stated on Tuesday night, these budgets do not ask for any tax increases, fee increases, or sewer rate increases. It would keep sewer rates in place since 2015 and will not raise taxes since 2016. And that concludes my report.
Chief Kelly, you're up.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'll start out with the yearly report. As of the end of October, we received 9,932 calls for service, have investigated 401 accidents, have made 332 criminal arrests, issued 1,250 citations on 1,699 vehicle stops. Break it down the month of October a little more for you. Last month we received 978 calls. That included 2 aggravated assaults, 1 burglary, 27 thefts, 3 motor vehicle thefts, 8 simple assaults, 1 forgery, 10 frauds, 8 criminal mischiefs, 7 drug arrests, 17 domestic disputes, 2 DUIs, 24 disorderly conducts, 23 fire calls. We had three deaths, all were natural, 9 lost/found missing persons, 146 public services, and 232 administrative calls to come, and numerous other calls scattered in there for 978 calls for service. We've also received a complaint of dirt bikes and four-wheelers. They're from Joseph Street. Coming up, they said that they're coming out of Norristown up on the bike path, and then coming up I think the access road onto Beaver Hollow, and then going up Joseph. And I'm sure they're going out. I've seen them on Main Street. You know, we don't have a major problem like Philadelphia has a huge problem, but patrol was advised to, to be aware of it. What we will do, if they're stopped, those vehicles will be taken because they are uninsured. So if they want to get the bikes back, the four-wheelers or the dirt bikes, you're going to show proof of ownership, or you're going to get it registered and insured, and you can drive it off, and if not, you're going to bring a tow truck. Also, I discussed with the manager, they're coming up that access road, so the manager's going to have ballards put out, so it'll make it more difficult. I mean, they're bikes, it's hard, they're dirt bikes, four-wheelers, but it'll certainly make it as difficult as can to get up on the Beaver Hollow. And I stress, please, to the residents, call us. Yeah, call when it's happening. Don't put it. It's okay to put it on Facebook or next door, but call us when it's happening. So. Yeah, just call us. I mean, you really don't. If they stop, hopefully we'll stop them. Or if we see them on the side of the road, or if they're getting gas at some of the gas stations, it's an unregistered, uninsured motor vehicle on the highway. So, and that concludes. I'm sorry.
Chief Kelly, when you say call us, do you mean call 911?
Call 911. Yep.
Okay.
There's very few things you can't call 911 for, but if you're any doubt, just call 911. Guys, there's somebody, the officers are out there, there's somebody out there 24 hours a day, and then it's going to take us minutes to get there, so please. And that concludes my report. Oh, yeah, thank you, Deputy. Obviously, we're not shaving because we're involved in No Shave November. And that money, we're raising money for charity, and we're going to donate that for toys. It's now toys for kids. So,
I did have a question. In regard to what Mr. Bobes talked about, the homeless,
Yeah.
are you seeing any, because when I ride the train into the city, there is the encampment in Norristown on the new bridge. But are you seeing anything filtering up this way, or?
We've always had some homeless population. It hasn't been huge. A lot of the individuals, you get to know them as a street officer, you know who they were, but I'm not seeing really a big influx. And most of the encampments, it all seems to be down in the borough side. Nothing up our end of the river. At least not that we're getting called for.
Chief, if people want to donate to the No Shave November, how do they go about doing that?
You can just send it to the police association.
Police Association? Yeah. Thank you.
Mr. Valia?
Thank you, Mr. Smog. For the month of October, for Public Works, preventive maintenance and repair of the township vehicles, we have started our 2022 leaf pickup for the year. For the month of October, we worked about a week and a half, and we ended up 10 loads at 120 cubic yards. Since then, we prepped our third leaf machine, and today it started our third. We have all 3 trucks out, meaning we have 8 Public Works and Park and Rec guys out picking up leaves, and we're working 9-hour days. So we're trying. They all came down at one time, so we're going to get them up. We also built the pollinator garden out front of the township building here. We assisted with school fire drills, attended a Public Works trade show in Oaks. And we pulled out the bushes and replaced some new ones out there at the flagpoles. I don't know if everybody noticed that, but all the big bushes in front of the flagpoles are gone. Now we have some new ones out there. Yeah.
Following our own rules.
That's right. And we set up and worked and cleaned up the Fall Festival for 2022. And that concludes my report.
Is the leaf pickup like a rolling thing, or is it scheduled?
Yeah, it's just rolling. It's not scheduled. We I think what we're doing this year is, we tried it last year, sending all 3 trucks into one section, cleaning it up, and then moving to another section. And it seems to work that pretty good that way.
But they pretty much try to get to the township once a week.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's close. We get there. It may not be it might be 7, 8 days by the time we get all the way around, especially during the real heavy season, but we get there. I don't know, I hope not. I mean, yes, I hope they blow them someplace else, not here.
Good evening, Commissioners. For the month of October, I issued 49 permits, totaling the amount of $16,528.02. To delve a little deeper into the biannual safety inspections, it is a fire life safety inspection that will be done for businesses, just to make sure that the businesses are keeping their exits clear, emergency lighting, hoods if they're a restaurant get serviced, just to make sure that everything is on the up and up for our residents. And I believe it would also, if they submit to their insurance company, they may get a reduce in their insurance. So that's what we're looking to do. Keep everyone safe. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you, Mr. Smock. Just a quick recap of a couple events from last month. Back on Saturday, October 15th, we held our second annual Fall Festival, which I think was a tremendous success. Mother Nature cooperated this year, and we had a great turnout. Just had an awesome day. We even got to catch Phillies win up in the beer garden, so that was cool. And Jason and I have plans for next year if they make another run, or if there's some good college football games on, for an even better viewing experience, shall we say, for next year. But no, the event running so well was really a direct result of our staff and our volunteers planning and putting all the time and effort into making that thing what it was. So I want to thank everybody that was involved, and thank all the people who brought their families out to enjoy the day with us. Judging for the Halloween house decorating contest took place on the evening of Wednesday, October 26th. Winning houses were posted on the township website. We'd like to thank all our residents who entered the contest and send congratulations to our 3 winners. Up next is our annual tree lighting ceremony, which is scheduled for Saturday, December 3rd, here at the Township Building, beginning at 6 p.m. Hard to believe that's 3 weeks from this coming Saturday. But we're making plans, and we're looking forward to that event. Anyone looking for more details or interested in sponsoring the event can find more information on the website or call our office. And lastly, as Commissioner Milazzo mentioned last week, the Silver Circle will be hosting a Thanksgiving luncheon next Wednesday, November 16th, from 1 to 3 p.m. at the Jefferson Firehouse. And that concludes my report.
I had a question unrelated, John. A few residents have asked me about the newsletter, and I know that we talked about that one. I think you brought it up. Is there any option of maybe rethinking how that is, or just get something smaller out, or whatever? I know it's bound to be a lot of work for you guys, but
Yeah, no. So you're asking if we could get the
we can
biannual
reinstitute the
newsletter, like the
quarterly.
mailer out again?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do
Yeah.
that. Is there?
I mean,
No, we can come up with the resources.
is there any reason why it stopped, or was it resources?
It was
or-
really, once COVID hit,
Yeah.
we didn't have much to put out there as far as programming and stuff goes, and the events, we had to rework and rethink how
Yeah.
we did a lot of it, so a lot of it was on the fly. So that's kind of the reason, and we've just been utilizing the e-newsletter to get our important dates and stuff out on our website and social media. But if you'd like to put the mailer back out, I can certainly work on that.
Yeah, but maybe we should have just a small, think about it first to see what the easiest way is, so we don't put a lot of burden on your resources and.
Sure.
No, I mean, the company we used before formatted it pretty well for us. It's just
Yeah.
coming up with the content or
Really?
anything else. And
Okay.
if it's you want it to be township and Parks and Recreation, like more than, because before, the township did their own, Parks and Rec did their own. Well, John kind of did all of it, but then we would put just crucial stuff into John's towards the end before we stopped it. So if you want to be more 50-50 stuff, I mean, that's just kind of like what you want to see as the board. Whether you want it every 6 months, do you want it every quarter, do you want it once a year? It's that kind of stuff that we would just need to know so we can plan.
Yeah, well, the residents that have spoken to me said one issue is some people don't have computers or Facebook.
And that's why we
and-
always did it in the past.
And that they like to have have like a hard copy of the information of like leaf pickup stuff,
Yeah.
the fall festivals, these things that are going on.
I do think that population is shrinking. I think more and
Yeah.
more people have access and are using, but there are probably
Right.
enough to warrant an actual mailer
Yeah,
going out still, so we
Right.
can look into that for sure.
okay.
Yeah,
All right,
I've just been
thanks.
aware of so many residents, just from talking, anecdotally to many people that just don't even know about the What's Up West Norriton.
Right.
Let alone be on the list. They're just not aware of it. It just seems like that there's a certain audience that just, needs to be reached through a mailer.
Yeah, I'd like us to share.
Yeah, we could come up
The
with
mailer.
content help you out with the content part, I
That
think.
just makes it easier for us,
Yeah.
because formatting is the easiest part, it's always the content and what you guys, as a board, want to see in that newsletter,
Yeah.
so.
We can maybe, this is just a suggestion, but we could maybe, when you all come up with your What's Up article or whatever you're gonna put into it, we could maybe piggyback off of that, incorporate our stuff, and then go to our printer and do it that way.
Yeah, maybe John and I'll get together, we'll come with a schedule of a recommendation, whether it's every 4 months, every 6 months, or whatever, and go from there, so.
Yeah, twice a year might be good.
That's what, I think when we stopped it.
That's what it was, yeah.
But What's Up is 4 times a year, it's quarterly.
Yes.
And I think it needs to be.
Well, actually, I think that what you had in the old one was much more straight information than What's
It
Up.
was
It's
more
sort of
data,
an
yeah.
updating. We could advertise the What's Up, we could advertise the Facebook and website pages so that,
For more immediate information.
we're getting more people online. So I think, what do you do, fall and spring for
That's what I-
recreational programs? Good enough. And then the township, I remember, used to put in like the leaf
Yeah.
collection dates and things like that, which is nice for people to have it to, put on the fridge.
And maybe when we do start it back up, we can feature.
Something from What's Up.
Ms. Eccles is talking
Yeah.
about. We can put that right up front
Yeah.
for everyday, weekly, monthly information.
Right.
Go here.
Sounds good.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Jeffersonville Golf Club. As the board is aware, and I'm sure most of the public, 2 weeks ago, the township was made aware that we received a 4th RCAP grant for our project, the banquet facility at Jeffersonville Golf Course. With the help of Representative Webster and Bradford, we received another $1,250,000 towards this project, bringing our total grant funding to $4,750,000 for that project, which is just under 40% of the overall price of the project. That project is currently in the initial phases of going to construction. The electrician's been on site doing temporary drops for the construction trailers, disconnecting the electric to the current building so we can have electric running our sanitary sewer pumps and everything up there. The temporary construction road has been cut in. So we're at the point now where we probably will have shovels in the ground once we get some asbestos certifications on the building done within the next week or two. We are proposing, based upon the feedback we receive, of doing a groundbreaking ceremony next week on Thursday. That would be the 18th, I believe, Kath? The 17th, around 3 p.m. We're confirming some dates and times with our elected officials, but that's what seems to be worked because Harrisburg is in session on Tuesday and Wednesday next week. But we'll have more of a definitive announcement hopefully tomorrow for everybody. But at least for now, hold this Thursday the 17th at 3 p.m. For the groundbreaking ceremony for that project. Under the monthly report for October, we had golf revenues of $159,351.17 and rounds of 3,866, bringing the total gross revenue for 2022 to $1,750,492.36, with rounds of 43,519. Food and beverage had a profit of about $10,000, bringing its yearly profit to just over $80,000 since April. So that gives us, a positive outlook for next year. That I believe we went pretty conservative on our revenue numbers for food and beverage for next year. But as I said, on Monday, the new routing went into place because of the construction going on around the first tee. We had to come up with a temporary routing where 17 will now become the new 1, 18 becomes 2. So we can route you through the course to bring you from 10 to 1 without having to come through the construction zone. And if anyone's familiar with the course, this was pretty much the original routing prior to the renovations in 2000. So it's been working out to our advantage fairly well for the week. Everyone is still getting used to it, but at least for the next year, we're going to have a temporary routing in place so we can at least keep the course open while this building's under construction. So that concludes my report.
Do you think we can get somebody from the press or have a press release for this groundbreaking?
We can definitely do a press release. I'll reach out to the Times Herald and see if they still have reporters there. If not, the one thing we could possibly do is we do have our Mevo camera. We could live stream it on our Facebook page. We bring down the hotspot from the park, and we can do that so we can at least have that live streamed for that event. So.
And we could send a photo to the Times Herald.
Yep.
We should make a big deal out of it.
I think so.
Okay, Mr. Fageniak.
Thank you, Commissioner Smock. You have my full report on file, but to note just some highlights. The Rittenhouse Pump Station Force Main, we have a concept laid out for that. We have a meeting tomorrow with a very large contractor to do a constructability walkthrough review to note where there's going to be concerns of access, slope stabilization, and other items to help give us some input to complete a final design for that. This contractor has a lot of experience in this, so I'm hoping their insight will help us better place this to do some cost savings analysis on that. So we can have the design, any issues incorporated into the design ahead of time, rather than deal with, field changes throughout the project on that. Try to minimize the unforeseen. Stinson Lane, that project is a small grinder pump sewer connection. We're working with Mr. Booz. I believe they're starting construction of that in the next few weeks. And those are generally the major highlights. Reserve at Stony Creek, all the punch list items were completed as far as the sanitary sewer goes, so when it does come time to dedication, the township is ready to take dedication of those sewer facilities. So.
Thank you, Mr. Smock. Few township projects going on. Marshall Whitehall, as you're aware, construction is starting to pick up. I know it's kind of been a slow going here. There's been some behind the scenes work on some utility conflicts at one of the corners. So it seems like we're able to modify one of the inlets to make it work. They're just waiting on a new inlet top to get that to fit. So we should expect construction to ramp up here in the next week. As far as the two road programs go, obviously they're both completed. We're still waiting on some final punch list items. We have a meeting. We're trying to set up a meeting next week with the contractor, just get them taken care of so we can get this closed out. The Stony Brook Stream Bank stabilization, our office met with the contractor in late October. And from that meeting, we kind of discussed sticking to the area closer to the Whitehall Bridge. We think that would be the most significant improvements for the maintenance of the stream. So it looks like, for now, focus on that area, maybe not so much more into the site. And then maybe we could do that at a later date. But for now, our focus would be to stick to the Whitehall Bridge area and go from there. It seems like construction could potentially, I understand, and I think we want to meet with the HOA and all that, but the contractor said he could be ready to go within a couple weeks, so. Some private developments, the T-Mobile expansion, we just received the final revised set. Should get an approval letter out at some point in the near future, and then setting up a pre-construction meeting to get started for construction. The TLC office and car wash, we issued a letter in late October. We have since gotten revised plans already, and they're currently under review. And then the Markley Farms Phase 2 dedication, we're hoping to get it ready for this month, but it looks like we still have a couple minor punch list items with the developer, trying to get them taken care of prior to taking dedication, so working with him now to get them wrapped up. And that concludes my report, unless there's any questions.
Yeah, I had a couple questions on the Stony Brook. Are you going to take that tree down too?
Yeah, the one right near the bridge, right in front of the bridge. Yeah, that's the
infamous tree,
plan.
whatever.
That's
Yeah.
gonna be the plan, yeah.
We've got a commitment from East Norriton to take that tree down for us.
Tomorrow I'm meeting with East Norton's Public Works Acting Director.
Okay.
And we're gonna go over that, but they've made a commitment to assist us in getting rid of that tree.
Okay. So it does look like some work will actually be done, like, in the next month,
I
you know?
would think so, yeah.
Yeah.
The contractor said he could be available
Yeah, a couple
within the
weeks,
next
he
couple
said,
weeks,
so,
so
yeah.
I can
Okay.
get more of an update from him, but
The only thing, Ed's gonna update the visual he put
Yeah,
together,
I
so
will
I can
update
go
that
out to
exhibit.
Joe Morris, who's the president of
Okay.
the HOA, and set that meeting up, if any
Uh-huh.
commissioners wanna come with, to at least run it past them, to show them what we're intending to do.
Okay. And then the Center Park condo thing, is any action on that other than, you know what's happened so
Since
far?
the report, no action, I think the next steps would be to meet with them to make sure everybody's on
Uh-huh.
board with it. Because I think some of the work would be, we would suggest to take place on the school district property. So I think the next step would be to meet with all parties involved.
Okay, because one of the board presidents who's come here, you know, is in touch with me off and on, asking me, you know, what's happening, so.
Yeah, I think if we can coordinate something with all parties and get that moving forward.
Okay,
So, just to keep you updated too with the school district, their facilities manager has left and went to another district. So now there's a new facilities manager there. I'm gonna meet with him. We actually found the old plans, for Marshall Street School, the parking lot, that included a basin. And back in the day, before everybody here was elected, and then everybody was up on that board, it was told to them that they didn't need to do it. And I don't know why. But hopefully maybe there's some paperwork in there that tells us why. But we do have those plans, and we're gonna get those, so we'll look at them. And maybe that will help the situation.
Can you say a little bit more about the car wash?
So, yeah, we issued a letter towards the end of October. They have partial approval for the back lot, their headquarters. The car wash is new, so they sent in revised plans. We had a number of comments, some related to stormwater. We've had a conference call with them, trying to talk to their stormwater engineer to make some revisions to the plan. They've since resubmitted them, and we should be able to get a new revised letter out. And then I would assume they are coming back to the board at some point.
Well, the next steps would be either a follow-up staff meeting with the internal staff and engineers to review that plan, and then it goes to the planning commission. So our goal was to send a clean plan to the planning commission for their review, and whether they were going to recommend that or not. I know there is some feelings on the planning commission that they're not in favor of this project, but we are doing our due diligence at a staff level because we do have to review the plans as they are submitted internally. Then it goes to the planning commission for their review and approval or denial. Yes, it's that lot. Originally, they came in with their headquarters in the rear and a mixed-use building in the front. However, they came back, it kind of died off for a little bit. The property was listed for sale. They pulled it off the market. Then they came back with, again, their headquarters in the rear and a car wash in the front. So we like the idea of the headquarters. The car wash, I'm not too warm on, just because they're proposing a car wash in Lower Providence up on the other side of Lidl, and that lot We have one on West Main Street already, and then we also have one on Egypt Road. So I don't know if we're oversaturating the market with car washes right now. And I believe Lower Providence is either approved or about to be approved in that process. And that's the empty lot between Lidl and TD Bank.
Well, and the traffic issue near that intersection.
Well, they still have to go to PennDOT. They haven't had a scoping meeting with PennDOT yet on traffic, so that could change a lot of their plans. Because the one thing, I know some of the commissioners were on this call a couple of months ago, if not a year ago, PennDOT has floated the potential of a roundabout at Egypt and Maine, which could potentially impact the striping and the cartway width in that area through there, with having it come down to one lane and coming out of two lanes. So there's a lot of moving targets in regards to this project, in regards to traffic, which is probably going to potentially delay it. We're not going to send it to the Planning Commission without some type of traffic review or traffic study as part of this. So I know they were waiting for a scoping meeting with PennDOT. And from what we understand, PennDOT was looking to put a significant amount of cost on them for the roundabout project. So.
How is that front portion, the street-facing portion zoned?
It's all zoned commercial. That's when we rezoned that property ahead of this, or when this first came in, it was split zone commercial residential, and then we rezoned the entire parcel commercial.
So hypothetically, if it were to be maybe reconsidered as a residential, it would need to be rezoned?
Yes.
Can't think of a better place to put some housing than right next to a public transit stop, but if they want to throw yet another car wash in, I guess we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But
Well, that's why you have a planning commission. That's why you have the liaison to the planning commission to make those known. Why we have a West Main Street corridor study, and why we have the county planning commission to do these reviews for us. So this is not a slam dunk that they're proposing this. It's just, we're going through the due
Okay.
diligence of reviewing the review to get you guys a clean plan for your consideration.
Understood. I think it's not my place to tell people how to spend money, but there's a better use for that, in my opinion. And I would,
Yeah.
I would guess based on President Smock's reaction and the planning commission as a whole, they might want to think of another option for that. So thank you in advance for your liaison
Right.
work.
I mean, it really is sort of the gateway into the township, so, it would be nice to have whatever is there look good.
We agree. Trust me, as a staff, we agree, so.
All right, can I get a motion to approve the departmental reports?
So moved?
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I don't have anything to report out this evening, so I'll pass it to Commissioner Milazzo.
I'm just happy that we had a very successful Election Day yesterday. I want to thank everyone in the township who participated in any way inside the polls. It was very well done, didn't hear of any problems, and we're happy that it went so well.
We got notified that there was a resignation on the zoning hearing board, and that traditionally, the one person takes that spot.
Historically,
The
the alternate
alternate.
has been moved over or appointed to the voting position, yes.
I would like to suggest that we at least learn a little bit more about Joan Gray, and,
I was the one who recommended her.
okay, well, I didn't know, so, good, well then.
And then one thing just to consider, I mean, in talking, you can take your time to talk to Joan. You really can't accept Ed's resignation until January.
Okay.
So you have some time to consider this position. Ed gave us enough courtesy to submit in telling us that he's going to resign on December 31st.
Yeah, I'm
So-
not suggesting that she's not an appropriate person. I just want to know that she is, rather than just do it.
At least finishing her first 3-year term, so she's been on for at least 2 years.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
As the public knows, Commissioner Smock and Commissioner Pavone have been sitting on the ad hoc dog park committee with myself and Mr. Zezzi. So last week, we were, very happy to be informed by Representative Bradford and Webster that we received a DCD grant in the amount of $783,000 to construct a dog park at the Van Lanigan track. That would fully fund the dog park 100%. It kind of fast tracks us because I don't think we were expecting to receive a grant this large through this. The nice part with this grant through DCD is 100%. There is no match. It's coming out of their allocation of pandemic funds. So we were working with Gilmore and Mr. Zezzi and myself to submit that grant application, which is the next step for that. The money's already been allocated. We just have to officially apply for it by next Friday. And then we'll know the next steps after that. But I know Ed and Gilmore are working on the next steps with construction documents, bid documents, and we're going to do some test digging up there for some water quality and some percolation issues just to get that addressed for the bid documents. But we are moving full speed ahead on this project.
We're sharing this with the East Norriton as part of the process with Mr. Bradford. Thank you for saying that way better than I could have.
Well, and also, I think it's important to note that it's more than just a dog park. I mean, people are concerned, why are you spending over $700,000 on a dog park when it's actually walking trails?
It's a 3-acre parcel for construction that's including a meadow, 2 rain gardens, walking trails, which are going to be ADA accessible, and some stream bank stabilization for the Kepner Creek as part of that property. So.
And just to kind of piggyback on that, it's a pretty good time to be in West Norriton. You know, thanks to the staff and a lot of hard work, we have millions of dollars flowing into the township for construction work, which is going to create jobs both short-term and long-term. Thanks to the work of 60% of the EAC who are here, we're tackling some of our environmental issues, one of which we will tackle in a few moments with hopefully passing the plastic bag ban. And lastly, just a little source of township pride that I've been working on for about a year. If you look up zip code 19403 on the USPS website, before recently, West Norriton was not listed as an option. And that really, well, I don't want to say in public what it made me feel, but I was unhappy. So at Mr. Bope's suggestion, I reached out to Congresswoman Dean's office and worked with some of the folks there who put me in touch with folks at the United States Postal Service. I stated my case. They said, well, that shouldn't be. And after some help with getting some of the street addresses, thanks to our, was it Cedarville? If you look today and you search a city by zip code for 19403, West Norriton is finally an option to use. So we can have a little bit of township pride. We don't have to be Trooper or Jeffersonville or Eagleville or Audubon, as lovely as those names are. We can be who we are, which is West Norriton. So I'm thankful to Jason and Cedarville for that. I'm thankful to Representative Dean's office for her help with that. And we're going to keep moving forward to make this an even better place to live.
Okay, let's move on to public comment. Mr. Waters.
4 stars out of 4 stars for the Oktoberfest. Same thing goes for the car show. Oh, wow. Bike path. There's a rule that says you're supposed to stay 4 foot in passing. Sometimes that brings people into oncoming lanes. Signs. I found a sign missing down at the courthouse. Pedestrian crossing. Unbelievable. Flooding of Whitehall Road. Sandra Lane Basin in East Norriton had some malfunctions in it when I started talking about it. And Jim Sullivan, he's an engineer over there, Mike? Yeah, okay. He was supposed to get back to me when they had the engineering, because actually that clog that's in there came from Sandra Lane, where the tree grew, so on and so forth. So I had a meeting with Webster explaining that, and actually went there and took pictures of where the pipe comes out, and then turned around this way and looked upstream, showing how the clog was there. Of and then look downstream towards the bridge to show where the channel was originally when the pipe was put in. Meanwhile, there's a big pile of something underneath of the bridge. Stormwater damage to the golf club on School Lane. There was a storm drain clogged. Mike took care of it. I got some other issues with storm drain, so I got to contact the PennDOT. And I don't really know what office to thank for that. It may have been Webster's office, I'm not sure. So I called them because I have some issues with some of the drains that are along, in other places too, on state roads. And I contribute that to flooding of intersections. The streetlight damage had to do with the car crash there. I didn't bother with the date. But the poles were out of serviceability. Now, this is the way a serviceable pole is supposed to break. It doesn't break in 4 pieces, shear off completely at the ground. That pole was out of service and should have been replaced maybe 25 years ago. Now, what I think may be going on, and you know, I'm into conspiracy now since the OxyContin thing, is that if PECO is keeping the depreciation on that pole, then there must be something wrong with that. So in order to go after that, I instructed my investment counselor to buy some stock. The other thing is these dead cables of Comcast hanging, they're on the next list. Friday, Drew Shaw and I get together to pass on the DVD, the best management practice of stormwater controls on Norriton Area High School. They may have been missing also, just like Marshall Street. Indian Creek environmental crime is another one I'm going to talk to about that. Wires in the river at Bettswood, the contractor needs a boat. I can't get my salvage barge through the channel because it's not marked anymore. I have been communicating with the county to try to talk about some of these other things that I'm concerned about. And they don't seem to answer, so I guess I'm going to have to visit them. Thank you. How'd I do, Kat?
All right. Thank you.
Now serving. This is Waters.
Hi, Lynn Waters, number 1 East Indian Lane. You know. This, the vote that you're going to do on the plastic bag, the single-use bag, I want to give you something to thank you. These are these bracelets. They're from that organization's called 4 Oceans, and there are young people who go out in this huge trawler with a bunch of Zodiacs, and they collect all this plastic from the ocean, and they make these bracelets out of them. I always wear 2 in case I find somebody doing something really nice. I take one off and give it to them. If you're not a bracelet person, give it to a kid, give it to the EAC, share it among yourselves.
Thank you.
Think on it, pray on it.
It's not your turn.
That's my Tourette's.
You had your turn.
That's my Tourette's.
Hi, Donna Suevo, 522 Canterbury Road. I'm Chair of the Environmental Advisory Council, and we brought this issue to the attention of the commissioners. I want to thank you for pursuing it. Obviously, I support the plastic bag ban. The number of environmental benefits from having this ban in place, anywhere from less litter, less plastic waste in the environment. Plastic waste ends up being eaten by animals, gets into their tissues. We have plastic in our tissue, we have plastic in our blood. Anything we can do to limit the amount of plastic that gets out into the environment is going to be beneficial. There's also a climate benefit because petroleum products are used in the manufacturing of these plastic products. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment this evening? Can I get a motion to close public comment? And a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. All right, Mr. Bobst.
Number 2022-756, updating the stormwater management ordinance.
So moved.
It's been moved, it's been second. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item B would be a motion to adopt ordinance number 2022-757, regulating the distribution and use of single-use bags.
I enthusiastically make this motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item C would be a motion to authorize staff to advertise ordinance number 2022-758, amending drop eligibility, and this is for the non-uniform pension plan.
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item D would be a motion to authorize staff to advertise ordinance number 2022-759, amending Chapter 7, Part 3, to provide for biannual safety inspections.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item E would be a motion to authorize staff to advertise ordinance number 2022-760, approving addition of fees and costs to unpaid municipal claims for delinquent accounts.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item F would be a motion to authorize the execution of the DUI grant resolution.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item G would be a motion to authorize staff to advertise the proposed 2023 budgets.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or comments?
None.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Under schedule of meetings, the Environmental Advisory Council will meet on December 7th at 7 p.m.
I'm sorry to interrupt. They will not.
They will not, so there will be no meeting for the month of December.
That is correct.
Okay. The West Iron Academy will be meeting on November 16th at 6:30, and the subject will be Public Works with our famed director, Mr. Valio. The Recreation Committee will also be meeting on the 16th at 7 p.m. Are you going to be here, John, or, okay, you'll be here. The Zoning Hearing Board, there is no hearing for the month. The Planning Commission will be meeting on November 21st at 7 p.m. I believe the topic will be the West Main Street Corridor Study. Human Relations Commission, December 15th at 7 p.m. in this room. And that concludes the agenda.
I've got a motion to close out the meeting for the evening. And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.